After 11 years together, GF broke up with me. Found out she's staying at her ex's place. My 28M ex-girlfriend, 28F of 11 years, broke up with me a month ago. It felt sudden, though I know we had been drifting apart, but I'd still want to try and work on the relationship myself if it would have been possible. She left her job as a teacher to run a small online shop, which left her feeling isolated. I work 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and tried to spend time with her afterwards. We'd go for walks, have lunch, dinner together, but admittedly, I spent too much time playing video games. She used to play them with me but lost interest over time. When she broke up with me, she said she felt lonely. I gave her space, hoping we could work things out. However, she grew distant, barely replying and avoiding any talks about us. A few days ago, I found out she spent 2 nights at her ex's house. They dated as teenagers, and she used to badmouth him, saying he was gross. I confronted her, but she dismissed me, saying it wasn't my business since we're broken up. This crushed the hope I had for reconciliation. I've now stopped messaging her and have reached out to her family to arrange for her to collect her things from our place. It's hard, but I feel like I need to close this chapter, though I'm unsure how I'd react if she reached out. I'm seeing a therapist and have been for a few weeks now. I've also been treated for ADHD and depression by a psychiatrist for 2 years. I'm trying to get support and work on healing, but this situation has made everything harder to process. To complicate things, she has refused therapy despite struggling with severe mental health issues, anorexia, bulimia, etc. in the past. Her family is worried, as am I, because rash decisions were typical of her before she got medicated. But at this point, her actions staying at her ex's, pulling away, have hurt me too much to keep being her emotional support. Just a couple of months ago, we were talking about marriage and kids, and now she's doing this. It feels inconsistent, but maybe she reached her breaking point. I don't know if I should cut ties completely or leave the door open for a possible reconciliation. Part of me thinks she might realize what she's lost, but another part of me is too hurt to even look at her. I think the only thing I'm missing to have some closure is to know if they were talking before we broke up or after. She did clearly break up with me, so no matter how rushed I feel it is, she's in her right to do so. I'd appreciate any advice on how to move forward. Should I cut her off for good? Can I heal while still caring for someone who's hurt me this deeply? I'm in therapy and working on myself, but it still is tough to navigate this. Update. Times have been tough since I first posted. For those who didn't read the previous post, my girlfriend of 11 years left me abruptly, and I found out shortly after that she had started seeing another guy just a month later, or so I thought. More on this later. I was shattered and it felt like my world had crumbled. The aftermath. Things have been messy but also revealing. After confronting her about meeting up with someone so quickly, she basically dismissed my feelings, saying that we were already over, so it wasn't my business. This hit me hard because while she did tell me we were over officially about 1 week or so after she left, I still had hope since we were together for 11 years, and she also never said she was in a relationship or talking with anyone. And I asked her this both when she left and 2 weeks later. I initially went no contact, needing time to process everything, but then had a conversation with her mother and father. Both were really supportive and worried about her. They noticed some changes in her behavior that concerned them. She started dressing in all black, isolating herself, constantly listening to music, and becoming distant from her family. These were all things I didn't fully recognize when we were still together. Her new relationship. I found out that she had met this new guy and stayed with him for 2 nights at a camping ground with bungalows. After that, she returned to her parents' home, but it felt like she had completely detached from our relationship. She insists that the guy wasn't interested in anything serious, which just adds to my confusion and hurt. It seems like she's making impulsive decisions without really thinking them through, which makes me worry about her more, even if she's no longer with me. As a side note, she met this guy when she was 12 and he was 18 over the internet. And they would sext each other, and he kinda got her started into masturbating since they did it over the phone. Beautiful stuff indeed. Sorry if this feels rancorous. I had to get it out of my system. Financials. At one point, she reached out about splitting some shared expenses, particularly car insurance, which I agreed to pay a portion of since I had used the car for part of the year. I was trying to be fair, but her sister called me out, pointing out that I was being too accommodating. After some back and forth, I realized I shouldn't be paying for something that I wasn't going to use moving forward. I told my ex and she agreed. This whole interaction made me realize I was still trying to fix things or hold on to some sort of connection. I realized that this mindset wasn't healthy. However, this conversation escalated into us talking, and she mentioning that she was trying to get back with the other dude. That kinda hurt me, so I decided not to talk to her much anymore and support her from far. However, I was too curious and asked how long before she left had this been going, and she said 2 weeks. This hurt so much. Her family. I've stayed in touch with her family, particularly her parents, who have been kind and understanding. Her father advised me to show her some tough love because of her past struggles with mental health and impulsive decisions, having stayed at a rehab clinic of sorts. While I've cut back on talking to her directly, I still feel a lot of compassion for her despite everything. Her parents are also deeply worried about her well-being, which makes it harder for me to fully let go. It's like I'm still trying to look out for her, even from a distance. Our pet. Something that broke my heart even more was when our pet rabbit, D*Ed, I had to put him down alone since she wasn't around or didn't seem to care. Recently, I picked up his ashes from the vet. This was another emotional hit, and we'll have to bury them soon together, which is going to be painful. Having her come over to pick up her stuff and knowing we'll have to see each other again for this burial is making everything complicated. Yet I feel like our bunny that was with us for 11 years deserves to at least be buried with both of us since he wasn't even put down with both of us together. Our pet rabbit also had a brother that died in 2023, and we buried him in one of her parents' land. So ideally I'd like them to be buried together, otherwise I'd just do it myself. Where I am now, it's been incredibly hard to move on, and if I'm being honest, I'm still struggling. Therapy has been a slow process, and the meds I've been prescribed haven't been a magic fix. Some days I feel like I'm drowning in this emotional mess, but I'm trying to take it day by day. I've cut contact with her now, except for dealing with the remaining logistical stuff, but the whole thing still feels surreal. I know it's going to take time, and part of me is still holding on to the past, hoping that being physically closer to her, we grew up in the same town, could somehow rekindle something. But I'm starting to realize that this hope might be keeping me stuck. Thanks again for all the advice and support in the previous thread. It helped me see things more clearly, even when I didn't want to accept the truth. If anyone has advice on how to completely let go or handle this next phase, where we have to meet to deal with our shared pet and her stuff, I'm all ears.